All eyes are on the crypto space right now with what is happening with the FTX exchange and the FTT token, which is FTX's token. Now, in this session, I want to talk through exactly what's happened, how this came about, the impacts that it's having right now, the potential silver lining to it, and how you might consider playing this moving forward and positioning yourself, because there are a lot of investment opportunities right now that we're seeing. But what typically happens, the psychology of crypto investors, uninformed, they tend to flee in these areas in a panic state when they really should be leaning in and understanding what's going on. So that's exactly what I'll pull back for you guys in this session. So let's really start with what happened. So SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, is he is the owner of FTX Exchange. He's a really well-known person in the crypto space, called the JP Morgan of crypto, after he bailed out some businesses in the DeFi arena like BlockFi that were going through challenges earlier this year on the back of what happened with Celsius going under. Now, SBF owns two companies and is part of actually three, which I'll get to the third one later on. So number one is the FTX exchange, but the second one was their trading company, Alameda. And what these guys are involved in is quite simply a trading company, like a fund as such, and they're investing in different assets. Now, what happened, it was on the 2nd of November, there was a leak that came to CoinDesk, and the leak was that Alameda were holding a very large amount of FTT tokens, FTX's tokens, and that raised some concerns and questions as to what's going on, why are they holding such a large level of this token, and what does it look like? So right then there was 8 billion of liabilities, 292 million locked in FTT tokens, and the rest were dominated by loans. Now, there were speculations that Alameda were going under, even though they've been seen as the darling child to try and bail out a number of companies. There were some serious concerns around this. And as these concerns started to progress more and more red flags started coming out, there were actions taken by key figures like CZ, which I will share with you in a minute, who is the head of Binance and a rival exchange. Now, to put this into some perspective here, FTX are the fourth largest exchange in terms of liquidity. So absolutely massive exchange. So this is really, really significant. And I think a lot of investors on the back of what happened with Luna are sitting here kind of thinking, my goodness, this is pretty intense as to what's happening. And a lot of people are bailing on the back of that because they don't want to be caught down in the plunge of what happened with Luna. Not exactly the same case, because that was slightly different in the way that it was collaterally, algorithmically pegged with a stable coin, and one, it caused a death spiral where one was feeding off the other, and it plunged right down as investors spooked. But that's been a very similar case here with the FTT token going down, which we'll look at shortly. The other thing to take into consideration, which we will touch on, is there are cryptos that are heavily tied into the FTX and Alameda's staking and what they held. One is Solana. So you can see the large amounts of the token here. So Solana blockchain, because SBF was an early investor into it, 292 million of unlocked and 863 million of locked Solana tokens and 41 million as collateral. So over $1 billion worth of Solana that is involved in this FTX and Alameda challenges, you might say. Now, this is causing a big challenge with the Solana price, which we'll look at later. But the other token that he was holding and had a large involvement was the Serum DEX, decentralized exchange token as well. So interesting to see, obviously that's tanking too. And it talks about their involvement with this, which we can dive into shortly. Now, this concern, this announcement started to peak some interest from CZ. Now, there was some other things outside of this. It wasn't just this. So SBF had done some work with regulators around decentralized finance, and he was doing things behind closed doors, which probably weren't in the best interest of other people, their competitors out there like Binance and other crypto businesses in the industry. He was kind of going behind their back. And that was also part of this challenge where CZ turned around and said, hey, we don't like what you're doing. We're going to go round. Not only have we got that concern, we've got the Alameda going under concern. We have a lot of exposure to the FTX token, so we're going to dump it. So they ended up dumping it, and you can see here, whale alert's a really good one to follow. So 23 million FTT tokens were moved in this transaction. So you can see 584 million US dollars transferred from an unknown wallet to Binance, and bang, that was it. They went and dumped, and you can see what happened from there. So that triggered an initial concern. So not only was there the flag of Alameda going under, then Binance is saying, hey, we're going to dump all our tokens. And to be honest, they wanted to wreck FTX in this situation, and they did exactly that and put them in a very interesting situation. So from there, things developed. And on the 8th of November, FTX turned around and say, we're halting all of the crypto withdrawals on the platform. And that is where the alarm bells started ringing. That's why you should never leave your crypto on an exchange, because of the risk and exposure that you can have there that you definitely want to avoid. So this was a really, really big it's challenge here, and it is terrible to see. And there was obviously some conversations that were had. Twitter's such a good place to stay up to speed with it. So on the back of here, there was a great opportunity open up. And just before we actually dive into that, I do want to go through this Twitter post here, which spoke about the concern. So with Alameda, they were lent a lot of money from different places, and they used FTT, the FTX token, as collateral. So they've given this collateral out, and unfortunately, the ones that they've bailed out, BlockFi and also Genesis here, they have about 10 billion on their balance sheet. How much of that was lent to Alameda? So some serious concerns there. They've just been hit on the Three Arrows Capital that went under recently. Now on top, they've got this as a challenge as well. So there's some serious pressure that's being put on a number of crypto businesses here. So do be very aware of that if you're exposed to any of these platforms. So then what happens next? A very smart play from CZ. So Binance are the number one exchange by liquidity in the world. They are far ahead of anything else. If you look at the flows through those exchanges and the amount of trading, the volume is held primarily through Binance already. But now they've stepped in and they've signed a document to basically say we'll take over FTX and prevent the collapse of it, prevent the total liquidation of it, because all of the people holding their assets on the FTX exchange are in a terrible position right now, where they're locked up and they can't really do anything because they can't withdraw from the exchange right now. So Binance is kind of, not only has he wrecked them, but now he's coming in to save the day, which is a really interesting way of going about it. But hey, it's going to work incredibly well for them. I do have slight concerns here around how centralized the liquidity is going to be through Binance. But as a trader, when there's huge liquidity on the platform, it's a really positive thing, because you know your orders are going to get filled, especially when you're trading 7 and 8 figures. So that's the fallout as to where we're at now. So as you can see from this post here, CZ, the CEO of Binance, FTX have asked for their help. There's significant liquidity crunch. To protect users, they've signed a non-binding LOI, and that is to acquire FTX. So he's been very open on that. They're doing their due diligence right now. So this is a really positive thing, but he's not going to go in and save Alameda and bail them out. And that is a problem still for cryptos like Solana and Serum, as we've seen. And I'll share that with you guys in a second, the charts and what we're seeing there. So do be mindful of, yes, it's going to support FTX, but it certainly won't support Alameda through the challenges and the failing that they're going to go through any day now. So looking at if and when Binance take over, it makes complete sense for them to do that. I see that it's going to be very positive. He doesn't care, I don't think, too much about the FTT token and its performance. And you can see it's getting absolutely smashed. I was talking to clients this morning around this, and they were asking, should you consider a trade on this? So we called a short trade on this earlier in the week after the fallout. It was bouncing on this range here, and we said, hey, if it loses this level here, it's going to drop. I thought it might stop first at $10 and then fall to $4, but it's fallen straight down to $4. There is a potential trade here, but you've got to be very careful. Like Luna, you don't want to catch something that is kind of destined to fail and try and trade it. But absolutely, there can be moves out of this. If you are trading it, then you want to be very, very careful and make sure you set some tight stop limits, stop losses on here. So if you do capture the upside, you don't risk everything and just watch your assets go straight to the downside. There is a lot of support in this range. But again, it's a very, very risky play, and you might not necessarily want to get involved in it. The other one to look at is Solana here. So Solana, because of the amount of unlocked tokens through Alameda, but also there's a ton, I think there's 863 million of locked tokens with Solana. So I see that when that comes to fruition, it's likely to get dumped. And they will have to liquidate all of that. So my expectation is that Solana's probably going to drop to some key levels. It's finding some support through this range now. If it loses that, it's probably going to come down to the $3.80 mark fairly quickly. And I do have an expectation that this is likely to happen. So do watch that. But it is looking like it's trying to find some sort of level. But the trend is down. There is clearly a continual downtrend here. So you want to be very careful that you don't try trading something that's necessarily in a downtrend, but there could be a reversal. But there's all those locked tokens that may flood onto the market in the very near future. So I'd be more likely to short Solana than try and play it long. And Serum is the DEX token. So that's all traded on the Solana blockchain. It's basically a decentralized exchange for all the Solana dApps. And you can see that this is just traded horribly. There's no support. We haven't been at these levels, and there's only really one way from here with this token. So if anything, you're better off doing a short potential trade on this rather than trying to long it, because Solana's got a ton of strife coming up. And on top of that, you've got Alameda, which is going to have to come in and dump all of their tokens to liquidate. So I foresee those kind of realities coming up. So just as an overview right now, FTX are looking like they're going to be taken over by Binance. This could be a really positive move for Binance. It does mean that we're heavily centralized around Binance, really as a trading platform, which it has its positives and negatives that you have to be mindful of, but never leave your crypto on an exchange. And a lot of people have probably been burnt through FTX, and that's why we're very big on our safety and risk management. You just don't need to do that, so don't. We've had enough experiences and lessons from there. If you are looking at trading Solana, then be very careful that it's likely to be dumped. And if you are looking to short Serum, you can do that as well, but do be aware of the risks. when there's all of this happening, because of people's sentiment, their psychology, markets can do things that they shouldn't do, rather than being more predictable based on typical technical trends. So yeah, I'll share another video as well around the midterm elections and what that means. But I wanted to really pull apart this because I know there's a lot of questions. What does it mean? What's going to happen? What's the future to this? And yeah, what's going to happen next? So I think there's going to be a positive rebound when Binance do kind of step in and save the day. And they've played this like a game of chess, move by move, absolutely destroying FTX and then saying, hey, we're take it over. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of bad blood there, but hey, they're doing the right thing by trying to salvage and save the FTX investors and people on that platform, which is the right thing to do. So let's see how this comes to fruition, but do keep a close eye on Alameda and what happens there and the liquidation that they need to go through, and understand what other tokens they're holding as well. Anyway, gang, hopefully this has been insightful for you. Thank you for tuning in. And I'll share another insight video on the midterm elections. So do watch out for this, the impacts and what we see going forward. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll join you again very soon. Ciao for now.